This is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. It has been 20 years since Carbon County closed its jail. Tonight, the push to build a new facility is nearing the finish line as ballots are being filled out and one final public information meeting is held. That presentation held this evening in Belfry as the county looks to solve a public issue that has only worsened with time. Q2's David Jay was at the meeting and has the latest.
Russ, about 25 people showed up to this last meeting here before the vote on the jail here in Carbon County. So the commissioners and the sheriff each had a chance to talk about it and let the citizens know their reasons for wanting to have the jail built in Joliet.
Carbon County does not have a detention facility. We contract with Yellowstone County, Gallatin County, Rosebud County, and Broadwater County to house our inmates. It takes one deputy away from the county patrolling, responding to calls. Instead, they become transport officers.
You know, 4 to 8 hours our deputies are driving that far just to put people in detention, and we just can't afford that because our officers are having to drive that far. Then we don't have public safety on the roads taking care of the people in Carbon County.
They asked questions at this meeting, but nobody voiced any opposition. But there have been some concerns raised at other meetings.
This is a very diverse subject. There's some very feelings both ways on this. Probably the biggest opposition we hear is the increase in taxes, and we're very much aware of that. We've tried to make this the most efficient, affordable plan to move forward.
The people that do have a concern, a lot of it isn't necessarily that we don't need a jail, it's that their taxes are going to go up. And we absolutely understand that because we live in the county as commissioners. We understand that the taxes are going to go up, and we absolutely don't want to see that. Everybody's taxes are going up. These are hard times in the whole country and in Montana especially.
Once again, this is the final public meeting, and the ballots will have to be in all on August 3rd. Russ, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you. David Jay reporting on a $200,000 home. The $19 million bond would add $57.46 and the $1.83 million mill levy $103.95 for a $161.41 annual tax increase. Just 2 days after the remains of a Vietnam veteran finally made it home, the hero's laid to rest. A moment his family has always hoped for, but never knew they'd see. On Monday, Lieutenant Ray Krogman received the homecoming he deserved as people lined up from Billings all the way to his hometown of Worland, Wyoming. Q2's Brandon Warren made the trip today to bring us the story.
Vietnam veteran First Lieutenant Ray Krogman had previously been listed as missing in action until recently when his remains were found and identified. Now, he has arrived at his final resting place, his hometown of Worland, Wyoming. A service was held for him complete with full military honors, including a flyover. The initial service was held at Worland Middle School and then moved to Riverview Memorial Gardens. Hundreds showed up to pay their respects to the fallen hero, and Krogman's nephew says he is appreciative of that.
Thanks to all the support from all the communities, the Patriot Guard, all the military, the Bryan funeral, and anywhere you go, people are reaching out, and it's unbelievable. The trip from Billings was amazing. I'm sure you knew how hot it was, and I just teared up with all the people standing out in the heat and to be able to honor him. Everybody knows he was a great guy. I always enjoyed being around him, and he was somebody to look up to.
The family is happy to have their uncle home. In Worland, Brandon Warren, MTN News.
Well, the mayor of Worland proclaimed July 21st Alva R. Krogman Day in honor of the veterans' service and sacrifice. The body of a female drowning victim has been discovered in the Stillwater River near Jeffrey's Landing fishing access. Stillwater County Sheriff Chip Kim said today that searchers found that body around 10:30 in the morning yesterday after someone had noticed the body hung up in a shallow portion of the river channel. The woman in her 30s is not from Stillwater County, and Kim says she had likely only been in the water for a few hours. An autopsy has determined the cause of death to be drowning, but the investigation into that incident is ongoing. Anyone with information is asked to call the Stillwater County Chief Deputy at 406-322-5326. Now over to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. Thunderstorms around the state tonight. Where are they now and where are they heading, Ed?
Now, let's take a look because the Storm Prediction Center put this area of north central and western Montana as most likely for storms, and that's pretty much where everything came together as we got into the evening hours. Some stronger storms did put down some large hail. You see that area around Woodworth where we got a report 20 to 30 minutes hail came down, some of it up to about an inch. Also about golf ball sized hail in the ghost town of Garnet outside of Missoula. Then strong winds down the east slopes of the Rockies, including Townsend. Wind gusts were over 60 miles an hour. Tomorrow, the target area is going to include Billings and areas to the north and east in particular by later in the day. And once again, gusty winds and some areas of small hail are possible. Take a closer look at those possibilities and the rest of the forecast details coming up in a few minutes.
Well, tonight, 19 large fires are burning across Montana, and the state remains at the highest preparedness level. That's just part of the briefing given to Governor Greg Gianforte today. The Department of Natural Resources and Conservation told the governor that Montana remains at preparedness level 5, and the Northern Rockies region is the priority region in the country. And the Elder Creek fire in the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest is the top priority fire in the nation because of threats to structures there. In our area, the Robertson Draw fire remains at just under 30,000 acres and is 85% contained. The 4,100-acre Crooked Creek fire is also 85% contained, and the MY complex has burned just under 29,000 acres and is 93% contained. The 2,300 Harris fire near 2,300-acre Harris fire near Joliet was contained last night. This year, 1,500 fires have burned 200,000 acres in Montana. 500 of those have started this month. The state has spent $8.9 million of its $105 million budget. Well, just days after Canada announced it would reopen its border to vaccinated Americans beginning August 9th, the Biden administration says not so fast. Today, the United States announced it is extending restrictions on non-essential travel at the U.S.-Canadian border until August 21st. The Department of Homeland Security says the restrictions do not apply to air, freight, rail, or sea travel, but they do apply to land ports of entry and ferry terminals along the border. The restrictions were originally set to expire tonight. Montana Senator Steve Daines and John Tester have been vocal in their calls for the Biden administration to reopen the border as soon as possible. They re-echoed those sentiments shortly after this latest extension today. Well, not even high-paying jobs in the Bakken oil fields have helped to fend off a growing shortage of workers. The problem has now reached the point where North Dakota state officials are concerned that workers who lost their jobs during the pandemic slowdown will not return. In its monthly report, Mineral Resources Director Lynn Helms said that at current oil prices, there should be anywhere from 20 to 25 hydraulic fracturing crews working across the Bakken. Instead, inspectors report only 8 crews in the field this week. Helms points to the worker shortage as a big reason. North Dakota's oil production remained flat from April to May of this year. It increased by just 0.4%. North Dakota's oil industry did set a couple of new records in the month of May. The number of producing oil wells statewide reached a new all-time high at 16,612. Also, McKenzie County, south of Williston, is the first in the state with more than 5,000 active oil wells. To put that in context, in April of 2006, the entire state of North Dakota only had 3,525 active wells. Billings Public Schools are back in session come August 23rd, and it's likely students and staff will start the year without a mask mandate. SQ2's Mitch Legge found out parents are weighing in with mixed reactions.
Billings School Board trustees voted unanimously earlier in the week to give the superintendent discretion on whether to require masks to be worn by Billings school staff and students. However, some Billings parents say that masks should be a personal choice.
I feel like masks should be optional at this point. So many people have decided to go for the vaccines. You know, we always see this, oh, fully vaccinated staff and, you know, guests can not wear a mask. It should be like that for the school system as well. It's our children, it's our lives. We hear a lot of the times, you know, our body, our choice. Masks should fall into that.
Morgan Scheffelman is the mother of an 8-year-old daughter who attends McKinley Elementary in Billings. Last school year, her daughter attended classes in person and, like other students, was required to wear a mask except during certain points of the day for physical activity or meals. Scheffelman's daughter has ADHD, and the family was worried that she would get into trouble for not consistently wearing a mask.
We had a wonderful teacher with her last year who had multiple kids in her class that had the ADHD. And so, you know, I'm very thankful for that. I wonder, you know, if we had a different teacher, would it have been a different outcome for her? Would she have been told more, you need to put your mask on?
Scheffelman worked as a teacher's aide with Laurel Middle School last year and said that she spent a lot of time asking students to keep their masks on rather than learning. Another Billings mom said that she felt more cautious, especially after Wednesday's news from the Centers for Disease Control that the more contagious Delta variant of the virus now accounts for 83% of COVID cases in the U.S. that have undergone DNA analysis.
When you're inside in a closed room, it has nowhere to go. So my biggest worry is sending them back and we'll be back in lockdown, or there'll be more variants to come from this as those go unvaccinated.
Megan Classic has 2 of her oldest kids enrolled at Arrowhead Elementary. Last year, they were in kindergarten and 1st grade. She said the school district did a good job at COVID safety last year and that her kids adjusted to face masks well.
But I want the school to take it seriously. I think they did a phenomenal job last year, making sure it was safe. They communicated really well with parents. They had all the safety measures. And I'm asking them, do that again this year until this virus is gone, or at least more contained.
July guidance from the CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics both say that masks in school settings should be worn by people who aren't or cannot get vaccinated. In the July school board meeting, Superintendent Greg Upham said that unmasked summer classes so far haven't seen any COVID-19 outbreaks. Billings students and teachers likely won't have to wear masks to start the school year, but there's still about a month left until classes start, and time for Upham to use his discretion to require masks if the COVID situation changes in the community. Upham also said that he will continue to rely on local health professionals to make decisions about coronavirus prevention in the Billings schools, particularly the Unified Health Command, made up of people from the Yellowstone County Public Health Department, Billings Clinic, and St. Vincent Healthcare. Reporting in Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
And Mitch tells us one thing both moms noted was that even though the pandemic has been a wild ride, they did find a silver lining, spending more time with their families. Well, as the Summer Olympic Games are set to begin in Tokyo, the COVID infections continue. U.S. volleyball player Taylor Crabb became the 5th American knocked out of the games after testing positive. In all, more than 70 people connected to the 2020 games have tested positive. There was also a blow on the soccer field as the U.S. women's team was shocked by Sweden. The opening ceremonies are scheduled for Friday. Still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, the statewide drought affecting nearly everyone, but maybe no one has been harder than Montana's farmers and ranchers. We'll hear from them coming up next. Then later in sports, climbing to new heights. We'll catch up with one man who's hoping to accomplish something less than 50 Americans have ever done.